This is Nathan Fantasy Football League Updates.
It's Rivalry weekend, and only 3 playoff spots are left in the regular season finale. Today, we recap a crucial Week 13 and predict those Week 14 rivalries with some massive implications on the line.
Clever.
Nathan, Fantasy Football League Updates. We are here. The final week of the regular season, and it's no better way than Rivalry Week to end us off and possibly get some teams in the playoffs or miss the playoffs on some bad blood games. An exciting week, though. Last week saw some more teams clinch and a couple more teams get eliminated. So let's waste no more time. And unfortunately for me, it was a 2 and 3 week predicting. So not a great job for me overall, but nonetheless, a very exciting week. And we'll start right away with the Bowling Green Cave Shrimp taking on the Bay City Bunnies. Winner looked to clinch the playoff spot. Loser would be sitting on the bubble. And it would be a 2-point, 139 to 137 victory for the Bowling Green Cave Shrimp, who clinched the playoffs and are currently the number 1 seed in the entire league as they beat the Bay City Bunnies. And you look at it for the Cave Shrimp, they had an excellent output from Russell Wilson, 26. Jonathan Taylor finally bounced back with 17, 21 from Josh Jacobs, and 21 from Trey McBride. You look at the Steelers defense and Tyrone Tracy chipping in 14. It was really that Sunday night game with all the winter weather. Debo, Brock Purdy, Tyler Bass kept this one close for the Bunnies. Big miss off the bench, 16 for Will Levis and 11 for Cooper Rush. On the other side of things for the Bunnies, well, Matt Stafford got 15, CJ Stroud got 14, Aaron Jones struggled with only 9, and Derrick Henry struggled, only 14, but 27 from Terry McLaurin, 15 from Sam Laporta on only 3 catches, 6 yards, 2 touchdowns. But it came down to Monday night when punter Riley Dixon gave them a chance. He started out strong with 6 fantasy points and then couldn't really get anything going from there. So a close 2-point victory and playoff-bound Bowling Green Cave Shrimp roster. Big miss off the bench for the Bunnies, 19 for Jaden Reed, 14 for Hunter Henry, and 17 from the Chargers defense. Any of those would have made the difference in this one. We move on to our second matchup, and it was the Zestmeisters trying to keep pace in the playoff race, taking on the Guantanamo Bay Flying Squirrels. And in a shocking stunner, the Flying Squirrels take down the Zestmeisters 114 to 105. I mean, this is a killer for the Zestmeisters, who now are 6-7 and do not control their own destiny, while the Flying Squirrels are 4-9, eliminated from playoff contention. For the Zestmeisters, they got a great performance from Lamar, a terrible performance from Kirk Cousins, though, who threw 4 interceptions. McCaffrey's now done for the year. He only managed 8. Chuba only got you 2. Nico Collins and George Pickens, 19 and 16, respectively. And then Chase McLaughlin, 15. But big misses off the bench were enough to hurt this one. 26 for David Njoku, 24 from Keenan Allen, and 16 from Cortland Sutton. All would have helped out and might have been the difference between the Zestmeisters looking at a playoff spot and now them needing a lot to go their way. On the other side of things, the Flying Squirrels got a good game from Chase Brown, 19, and then everybody else kind of played serviceable in sense. Justin Herbert struggled with only 7. And 9 for Jordan Addison, even a Monroe only 12, but it was enough to get it done. The big miss off the bench, though, Caleb Williams, 26, and Ladd McConkey, 20. So I expect to see both of them in the lineup this week. Hopefully, just trying to keep playing spoiler are the Flying Squirrels, but they fall to the Zestmeisters, 114 to 105. We move on to our next matchup. It was a fun one. The Ithaca Iguanas taking on the Rocky River Rough Riders. And once again, the Iguanas continue to score in bunches. Another week where they go above 150. And they lose again. They lose in a week where they continually score high. A 179 to 159 win for the Rocky River Rough Riders, who are now the 3rd team to clinch a playoff spot. Iguanas and Cave Shrimp, the other 2. All of those teams are 8-5. But what a win for the Rough Riders, who, things looked a little grim at times, but they picked it back up. You look at Josh Allen with a passing, a rushing, and a receiving touchdown. Absolute craziness. 21 from Joe Mixon. Drake London, 17, but the top scorer of the week, Jerry Jeudy, is what got it done with his 40 fantasy points. It felt like the Iguanas were going to take this one until Jerry Jeudy went off against his former squad. Seahawks chipped in 16 as well. Big miss off the bench, Anthony Richardson with 21 fantasy points. On the other side, for the Iguanas, they didn't do anything wrong. Jalen Hurts had 17, Joe Burrow had 19, 15 from the pair of running backs, 30 from Brock Bowers, and 27 from Bucky Irving. Even T. Higgins chipped in 17. But where things went wrong, CeeDee Lamb 5, and the big miss off the bench, Tyreek Hill with 20 fantasy points. We didn't know if it would benefit or hurt the Iguanas. Well, that benching hurt the Iguanas because that's some big points lost there. Tua also sat on the bench with 25, and Rico Dowdle had 21. So we'll see if Tyreek Hill finally, after being benched, earns that starting spot back this week, especially with CeeDee Lamb being a little bit iffy and possibly injured. Matchup number 4, it was Groundhogs Avengers. Avengers win and you're secured. Lose and things get interesting. While the Groundhogs went in and upset the Avengers 153-145. The Groundhogs, despite the victory, are eliminated because of other teams winning. And now the Avengers are on that bubble at 7-6. But the Groundhogs can still play spoiler moving forward. They've got some fun matchups. But Jaden Daniels had a big game with 27. Sam Darnold had 19. Devon Achane had 21. 19 from James Cook. And then the wide receivers kind of struggled. Only 5 for Mooney and 4.7 for Kupp. Johnny Smith added 21 fantasy points. What a big tight end flex move. Big miss off the bench. 32 points for Jameis Winston and 17 for Marvin Harrison. Then you look at the Avengers. Well, Patrick Mahomes played serviceable with 16. Drake May got 19. The running backs struggled, though. Breece Hall only with 6. Jahmyr Gibbs with 10. Mike Evans, welcome back. How about 25? Mark Andrews added 18, and DJ Moore added 23. Big miss off the bench, though. Nick Chubb, 12. Zach Charbonnet, 12. A couple big misses there at the running back position. Kind of cost them this one. And now things get even more interesting. Avengers, still in that bubble. One team's going to miss out. A very exciting matchup this one was. It was a 165-141 victory for the Brisbane Bay Bandicoots as they take down the Empire Strikes Back. Jordan Love played pretty well with 18, 25 from Bijan Robinson, 18 from Kyron Williams, 15 from Malik Neighbors, 20 from Jamar Chase. Broncos defense chipped in 13. Big miss off the bench, Devontae Adams with 17 and Jacoby Myers with 15. On the other side, for the Empire, who now are eliminated. They needed to win out. They came close, but this loss is going to do it for them. A surpriser. They were my number 3 ranked preseason team, but they had a good game from Jared Goff. Saquon added 19. Brian Robinson Jr. added 17. Jay Jettis 16. Puka Nacua 17 and 24 from Najee Harris, but a big fat donut from Will Dissly. And then big miss off the bench, Brian Thomas Jr. with 18 fantasy points. So a tough week for a couple teams, and now we've got an interesting look at Week 14. Rivalry week is here. A lot of crucial bye weeks for some teams, and a lot of teams on the bubble. We'll have 3 more sneak into the playoffs, join the Rough Riders, Cave Shrimp, and Iguanas, while 1 will miss out. So let's get you my Rivalry week predictions. Week 14 is here. Rivalry week is just about underway. Some really good rivalries, some new rivalries being introduced this year. No battle for Shelley's Fork, unfortunately, but next year that rivalry might return. But nonetheless, we've got some fun things on the line for rivalries, some fun histories, and it should be interesting to see who can come out on top with playoff implications on the line. So let's waste no more time getting you these rivalries and some good ones at that. And we'll start with no game of the week, but we've got some fun matchups, and we'll start with Iguanas and Zestmeisters, which has been deemed the Battle of Zarvis. Iguanas, of course, already in the playoffs. They're trying to keep the Zestmeisters out of the playoffs. Zestmeisters need a win and then some more help. Do I think they get it, though? Let's find out. Well, for the Iguanas, I think your quarterbacks, once again, 20-plus performances. I think Alvin Kamara has a monster game this week against a terrible rushing defense. And then your turning point player, CeeDee Lamb, it's really because I don't know if he's going to play this week. In that case, Tyreek slides in. I think Tyreek is started to get the pieces rolling again, so I wouldn't mind Tyreek in there instead of CD. And then Brock Bowers and Bucky Irving continue to propel you forward. A lot of good matchups for the Iguanas this week, but for the Zestmeisters, who are without Lamar Jackson and some other pieces, including CMC, who's done for the year, they're going to need some help. I think, Kirk Cousins against his former team in the Minnesota Vikings will contribute. Kenneth Walker will contribute. And then your turning point player, Keenan Allen, can he contribute? That's going to be the question. He's had a couple of good games, but that's because he's gotten in the end zone. Can he do it receiving-wise? And then George Pickens has a pretty good game for you. Looking at the history here between these two squads, it's a 5-2 series advantage for the Iguanas. They've met twice in the playoffs, and it's a 2-0 Iguanas playoff lead. And of course, this year, though, a really fun matchup between these two squads where the Zestmeisters actually got out and scored a ton, 183-168. They came away with a big-time victory. Let's see if they can do it again with their playoff hopes on the line. But in a 10-plus point spread, I'm taking the Ithaca Iguanas. They've got the better matchups this week. They're going to have a lot of high scores, and without Lamar and some other pieces on bye week, the Zestmeisters are going to fall short and miss the playoffs for a fourth straight year. It's brutal, but I think that is going to be the case. Matchup number 2, Avengers taking on the Flying Squirrels. Should be a fun one there. It's the Genis Bowl. Should be a good one, and this has got a rich history of a game. You look at a 4-3 all-time lead for the Flying Squirrels over the Avengers. Kind of a surprise seeing how the Flying Squirrels recently have been kind of a bottom feeder the past couple of years outside of last year, but they do hold the 4-3 advantage, and then they are 0-1 in the playoffs. The Avengers have that one win. And of course, this year, though, it was the Flying Squirrels winning that thriller of a game. It was a 126-126 tie, but bench points were better for the Flying Squirrels. So what's going to happen this week? Avengers need a win, stay in. Flying Squirrels, no better feeling than playing spoiler to your rival. Well, I think the Avengers get a good game from Mahomes. Turning point player, Aaron Rodgers. Going to need to see something from him against a tough Miami defense. Your running backs, though, get back on track. Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs both play solid. Mike Evans and DK Metcalf also chip in a good amount. On the other side, for the Flying Squirrels, I think Justin Herbert gets on track versus a scary Chiefs team at this point. Derek Carr against the Giants performs well. I think James Connors and Amon-Ra St. Brown and even Chase Brown all have good weeks this week. Your turning point player, though, Jordan Addison. He is so up and down. One week he'll have a monster game. The other week, all the targets are going to Jefferson. So, in a 10-point spread, I'm taking the Avengers to lock it up, win the Genis Bowl, and make it into the playoffs. Should be a very exciting one there. But I think the Avengers, the reigning champs, get back in courtesy of a rivalry victory. Next up is the Bingo Boys Classic. Bandicoots, Groundhogs, a classic all-time matchup, a really good one. I'm excited for this one. The Bandicoots are not only on the line, but the Groundhogs want to go out there and upset their rivalry. This one's got a really strong history. A 5-4 Groundhogs lead over the Bandicoots with an even playoff record of 1-1. And of course, this year, the Groundhogs, week 1, they pulled out a 150-124 victory over the Bandicoots before they went on that big winning streak. So can they pull out a win and spoil things for the Bandicoots? Well, you look at the Groundhogs and no Jaden Daniels this week. They're going to go Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston. I think both of them play solid. I think Devon Achane continues to do well, and James Cook continues to cook. Cooper Kupp plays serviceable, and your turning point player Marvin Harrison Jr. also plays serviceable, where Jonnu Smith and Travis Kelce chip in as well. On the other side, the Bandicoots get a good performance from Jordan Love and Kyler Murray. Bijan Robinson adds 20+, and so does Kyron Williams. and Jamar Chase. Malik Neighbors has a pretty good game against a bad Saints team. And then your turning point player, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm interested to see how he performs. Sometimes he has good games, other times it's DK. I think he plays serviceable again. So in a 1-point spread, this one's going to be really close. The Bingo Boys Classic is going to go to the Brisbane's Bay Bandicoots, who are going to squeak by the Groundhogs, reminiscent of last year's upset win in the playoffs. It was a 4-3 punter battle that went to the Groundhogs. So the Bandicoots will get their revenge and slip into the playoffs as a scary low seed. So we're through 3. Matchup number 4, it's the Ice Bowl. The Bunnies taking on the Empire in a all-time classic, really. You look at a 4-3 all-time history. Bunnies own that tiebreaker with a big-time win this year. It was a 143-140 victory for the Bunnies, a close call, and of course, an even playoff record against the two. Bunnies need to win with almost no amount of their roster playing. They had about 4 or 5 guys that normally start for them. Everybody else is on bye week. So scary things for the Bunnies. They're hoping the Zestmeisters lose so they get in at 7-7. Otherwise, things are going to get interesting because, if they lose, they can't pull this out with the B team. It's going to be interesting. Empire, I think they have a big game from Baker Mayfield. A top scorer of the week performance against the Carolina Panthers for Saquon Barkley. We know he's going to absolutely dominate the Panthers. Najee Harris plays well. So do the wide receiver tandem of Jefferson and Nakua. And then your turning point player, Will Dissly. He literally dropped 0 last week. You're going to need more production from him. And welcome back Brian Thomas Jr. to the flex position. I think he plays well in his return for the Empire. On the other side of things, the Bunnies are forced to start Aiden O'Connell. With no C.J. Stroud this week, he plays not as well as he did against the Chiefs. Stafford plays serviceable. Pollard and Aaron Jones play serviceable. I think A.J. Brown plays pretty well, though. And then Jaden Reed plays pretty well this week. Laporta regresses. And then your turning point player, Calvin Ridley, I think he plays pretty well. He has those monster games. I think he'll have a pretty good game this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But in a 10-plus point spread, I'm still taking the Empire. Things are going to get scary for the Bunnies, who might slip out of the playoffs. If something crazy happens with the Zestmeisters and tiebreakers and points 4, there are some scary things going to happen for the Bunnies. They will hope for a Zestmeisters loss, as I have them losing in pretty dominant fashion to the Empire Strikes Back. So our final matchup, and probably the most classic of these rivalries, the Founders Classic. The two Founders square it off. The Rocky River Rough Riders and the Bowling Green Cave Shrimp go head to head in what is really just an all-time classic. But it's been a series dominated entirely by the Rough Riders. The only win for the Cave Shrimp coming in 2023. It's a 4-1 advantage for the Rough Riders. No playoff experience between these two teams, but this year it was another win for the Rough Riders, a 136-133 victory. And it's going to be interesting to see how things go. Can the Cave Shrimp break that streak and lock up the 1 seed with a win? If not, Rocky River Rough Riders or the Iguanas will probably take over that 1 seed. We look at the Cave Shrimp first. I think Brock Purdy and Russell Wilson play pretty well as long as there's no snow. Tyrone Tracy has to slide in for Jonathan Taylor, who's on bye week, and Garrett Wilson plays Josh Jacobs continues his trend of 100-plus yards against the Lions on Thursday night. And then my turning point player, Deebo Samuel, who has not gone over 10 in a while. I need him to play a little bit more serviceable. I think he plays a little bit serviceable against the Chicago Bears. Then we move down the board. Trey McBride plays pretty well. He's been turning it on lately for the Cardinals. And then Khalil Shakir's going to slide him. He's an excellent, consistent guy. He'll play in the flex this week for the Cave Shrimps, who are looking for their second rivalry win all time in the Founders Classic. Then we look at the Rough Riders, and they're missing some guys due to bye week. No Bo Nix, no Joe Mixon, no Javonte Williams. So it's going to be Josh Allen leading the helm. He has another monster week this week, though. Quarterback 2 is still yet to be determined. We'll find out who is there, but based on the people still on waivers, they'll play serviceable. You look down the board and, we get some interesting flex options. Drake London plays pretty well. Jerry Jeudy plays pretty well. DeAndre Hopkins plays well. But then we get to your turning point player this week for the Rocky River Rough Riders. The turning point player is none other than Isaac Guerrero, the running back for the 49ers. Does he have the stuff that Jordan Mason has? We're about to find out. I think he plays serviceable against a okay Bears defense. But is it enough to take down their rivals for the 5th time out of 6 matchups in a 10-plus point spread? I'm taking the Cave Shrimp. Give me the Cave Shrimp to lock up the 1 seed in rivalry win fashion. Should be an exciting one. I'm really hoping that the Cave Shrimp can kind of pull it out. They've really struggled in this rivalry matchup, and we're about to find out if this team can step up to the plate even without their first-round pick in Jonathan Taylor. Can they get it done with some missing pieces for the Rough Riders? Really feels reminiscent of Ohio State, Michigan, with the Rough Riders being Ohio State and Cave Shrimp being Michigan? Maybe? I don't know. That's up to you guys to decide, but that'll take us through rivalry week. A big win for the Cave Shrimp, Iguanas, Avengers, Bandicoots, and Empire in rivalry week. Quickly, the Founders Classic will be fought over a prize that was deemed last year's winner as well, so they're double or nothing it pretty much. The Bingo Boys Classic will be fought over the plastic disc. The Ice Bowl will be over a Snow Angel. A Genis Bowl will be over a meal, and so will the Battle of Zarvis. That'll be over a dinner as well. So that'll round out our rivalry week. Let us know in the comments below, what is your favorite rivalry? Honestly, for me, it might be the one that wasn't featured, the Battle for Shelley's Fork. That one not renewed this year, but we're hoping to see the Battle for Shelley's Fork next season. That fork's still in the possession of the Empire, I believe, so the Flying Squirrel's still trying to get that back. But let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite rivalry? Do you think I got my predictions right? Or, how did the playoffs shape out? Do the Zestmeisters find a way in? Do the Avengers? Do the Bandicoots? Do the Bunnies fall out? Only time will tell. Should be a fun week, and no better way to celebrate than rivalry week. Best of luck to everybody this week, and let me know what rivalry you are supporting. And until next week, when we reveal the playoffs, have a good one, and we'll see you real soon.